This exemplar illustrates the conceptual learning design, and we're focusing at one of the substrands called analysis. In order to illustrate this particular learning skill, we're going to use a historical story taken from the Newsfilm archive. It's a story set in the 1930s. It's about riots in the East End of London between the communists and the fascists or black shirts led by Sir Oswald Mosley, shown in this picture. Now, one of the difficulties that students have with analysis is actually being able to understand how to break an item down into its constituent parts, how to locate those parts, basically trying to analyse how a document, or in this case a video, has been put together. So we've developed an activity called the 10 frame activity, whereby students are asked to select just 10 pictures, 10 single frames from the video clip which illustrate what they're trying to show. And to help them, we've actually created 4 different hypotheses, or if you like, issues around the riot. The idea being that each of these hypotheses gives a different explanation as to who was to blame. In the first one it's the police, in the second it's the fascists, in the third it's the communists, and in the fourth it actually suggests that the evidence is inconclusive. There isn't enough evidence in the video to show who was to blame. So students would now watch the video, and in one format or another, which I'll discuss in a moment, they would actually take shots from the video in order to illustrate what they think are the key moments. I'll just play the video to give you a flavour for this.
5,000 fascists rallied to their mobilisation for the much advertised march to the East End. And Sir Oswald Mosley, black shirt leader, arrives at Royal Mint Street to inspect his followers.
Now we can see in the video itself there are a number of different shots which could be used depending on what the students are looking for. So the idea being that the students would take a frame. For instance, this is a good example here. This is showing the communist salute, so people in the crowd making the communist salute, and students could freeze frame that. If they have the particular authoring skills, they might be able to actually capture that screen, or alternatively just reference the point in the video using the time code. And so we'd move on, asking them to select more frames until eventually they've built up their 10 frames, which I use then to analyse the essential narrative and story going on within the video clip. Now, there isn't time to show you the entire clip. The clip is actually available in the Newsfilm online archive, but if we move now to the frames that have been taken, we've got 5 here in fact. So for instance, we've got frame 1, which shows the black shirts starting the parade, relatively peaceful, although notice they're flanked by police on each side. Frame 2 felt to be very important because it shows the leader of the black shirts, Sir Oswald Mosley. 2 very interesting and comparison type frames here, simple shots showing on the left hand side the fascists making their typical fascist salute, and on the right hand side the communists making their clenched hand communist salute. And then finally a frame illustrating how the police were involved on horses, and some might consider that rather heavy handed by today's standards of policing. But again, the idea being that students would then justify their selection, and in doing so would demonstrate that they've really analysed a story or a narrative really closely in order to gain a better understanding of how it's been made up. This technique, of course, could be used in a wide range of different disciplines and subject areas, and I'm sure you can think about different examples from your own subject teaching where you could use this type of analysis based around Newsfilm archives.